Well, hello there. If you're seeing this, you either missed a Google Meet and did not get the instruction over this. Maybe you need a refresher. Maybe you want a preview. However, we are going to go over the first few slides on the Desmos lesson number 7 for solving equations involving rational numbers. Rational numbers refer to almost any number you will see in most of high school, with the exception of what are considered irrational numbers. So a lot of the numbers that you will see that involve decimals, fractions, um, things like that. So these types of equations tend to be more intimidating for students. So take your time. It's fine. All the problem solving processes you've learned up until now is still applies. It's just the numbers look a little different. So let's dive right in on slide 2. This first equation. First, you're going to probably notice it looks a little silly. It's got parentheses and it's got a negative. Here's an important thing. This is one of the tricks that those people that make the standardized tests will try to do to mess with you. Don't let them. If there's a negative symbol or a subtraction in front of a set of parentheses, but there's no number, I want you to envision there being an actual 1 behind that negative sign. So this equation could actually look like this: -1 parentheses x plus 4 equals -8. When you see this, now it should be a little bit more familiar. Hopefully by now you've learned that with distributive property, I need to get rid of these parentheses, and the distributive property will help me by sharing this -1 with both items in. Most people figured out in our last lesson that if I take the number in front, multiply it by the items inside, I can eliminate the parentheses. So here's what I need to do. -1 times x gives me -1x. -1 times +4 gives me -4. Then I have equals -8. Two-step equation. Pretty comfortable with this now. To solve, add 4 to both sides. Here's where you're going to have to be careful. This is not a +8. This is a -8. The Desmos calculator will always help you check. If you need it, use it. For example, I have a -8 plus 4. Most students will recognize they don't need the calculator for that. However, use it to check. That means that this is -4. These equal 0. I'm still left with this -1x. Just because I've got the 1 doesn't mean I'm done. I can't have a negative coefficient with a variable, even if it's a -1. So to solve, just divide both sides by -1. X equals 4. Negative values are going to change things. If you don't subtract this right, you're going to end up with any number from 12 to -12 to +4. You're going to have to start watching those signs because it's going to make a huge difference. Let's take a look at our next equation. Slide 3. Sorry for my typo. I messed up on this slide, so I had to write it by hand. Yours should be typed out. What we have now is a fraction that we have to distribute. Doesn't change anything that we do. The fraction 1/2 is easy to work with because I essentially will just cut numbers in half. But if you're not confident in your fraction skills, use the Desmos calculator. Distributive property again. Take the 1/2, share it with both things inside the parentheses. So I can come over here to my Desmos calculator. I can do 1/2 times 6, because it's 6x. That's going to be 3x. Next, I'm going to do the same thing. And here's the nice thing about the Desmos calculator. Instead of retyping that, I can come back up here, delete the 6, change it to a -20, and I end up with a -10. Yes, notice once I eliminate this -6, that's a minus sign. It stays put. That makes that 20 a negative. So that means that I'm going to have a -10 here, equals 50. Basic two-step equation again. Add 10 to both sides. So now I've got 3x equals 60. Divide both sides by 3. X equals 20. Not too bad, right? Be careful with the fractions. Sometimes it won't give you whole numbers and you're going to have to deal with fractions or decimals, but you are equipped with the skills. The calculator will help you check your math. One more example. On slide 4, now we've got decimals. I'm not sure if you prefer decimals or fractions. I think I might prefer fractions, but We don't get to pick on this problem. So again, we're going to distribute this 3 to the decimals inside. That Desmos calculator, yet again, is going to help me. 3 times the first number, which is 0.25, gives me 0.75. So when I multiply this 3 by the first thing, I've got 0.75x. Don't forget, this 3 is 3 groups, which means I'm also going to have 3 of those negative 1.6. So I can come back up here and type in negative 1.6. Now I've got a negative 4.8 equals 9. What do I do now? Two-step equation. Add 4.8 on both sides. Those are gone. Now I've got 0.75x equals, come back over here, 9 plus 4.8 gives me 13.8. 0.75 times x. I undo multiplication with division. So I'm going to divide both sides by that coefficient. If you're not careful here, you're going to get the wrong answer. Make sure that when you type this division and you type it in 13.8 divided by 0.75. And I get 18.4. So again, use the skills you've learned in solving